You know, we tend to think of our skeletons as this solid, permanent framework inside of us. But what if I told you there's a silent threat to our bones that has nothing to do with old age? In fact, it's affecting young people. We're talking teens, people in their 20s, and even their 30s. Today, we're going to dive into a really surprising health risk that connects our modern diet directly to the strength of our bones. And honestly, this connection might just change how you think about your health forever.
So, let me ask you, when you hear the word osteoporosis, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For almost everyone, it's a picture of an older person, right? Maybe a grandparent, dealing with bones that have become fragile. It's universally seen as a disease of the elderly, something you don't even have to think about until you're way down the road. That's the common wisdom, isn't it?
Well, it is time to think again, because what we're seeing now is a really concerning trend, something called juvenile osteoporosis. And yes, that's exactly what it sounds like. A condition of weakening bones is showing up in people who should be at the absolute peak of their bone health. This isn't some far-off problem anymore. It's happening right now, and the causes are, believe it or not, hiding in plain sight in our everyday habits.
So, what on earth is causing this? What is this surprising health risk? Well, I can tell you it's probably not what you're thinking. The real culprit is deeply tied to our modern diet and the kind of hormonal chaos it can create inside our bodies. And it all starts with some pretty subtle warning signs, the kind that are really easy to just brush off. But you shouldn't.
So how would you even know if this is happening to you? I mean, the signs are tricky. You might feel way more tired from exercise than you think you should. Or maybe you notice you're not growing as tall as your friends. For some, it shows up as weak teeth or joints that just always seem to be aching. And then, of course, the most obvious sign, fracturing a bone from a minor fall, something that really shouldn't have caused a break. These are basically whispers from your body, telling you that its very foundation might be in trouble.
All right, let's get to the heart of the matter. The villain in this story isn't just a simple lack of calcium. No, it's actually a hormonal imbalance. And the hormone right at the center of it all? Insulin. Now, we all connect insulin with diabetes, but its influence goes so much further than just blood sugar. In fact, when we constantly overwork it, insulin can become one of the biggest enemies of a strong, healthy skeleton.
Let's do a quick recap on our main player here. Just think of insulin as your body's dedicated sugar manager. It's a simple job, really. When you eat food, especially carbs and sugar, your blood sugar goes up. Insulin's job is to show up, grab that sugar from your blood, and escort it into your cells where it can be used for energy. It's a totally vital process for, being alive.
But here's where the trouble starts. Our modern lifestyle, full of sugary sodas, processed snacks, and this idea that we should be eating all the time, it forces our body to just pump out insulin, nonstop, all day long. This creates a condition that experts call chronic insulin oversupply. Your body is basically flooded with this hormone day in and day out. And that right there is where the damage to our bones really begins.
So, this is the big question. How does a hormone that's supposed to manage sugar end up wrecking your bones? Well, it's not like a sudden attack. It's more like a slow, sneaky process of sabotage that happens deep inside the bone itself. It's really a story about two teams of cells that are supposed to work together and how way too much insulin throws their whole system completely out of whack. Okay, first, let's meet the heroes of our story, the osteoblasts. The easiest way to think of these guys as the construction crew for your skeleton. Their one and only job is to build new, strong bone tissue. When your body's healthy, this crew is on the job, making sure your skeleton stays dense and tough. Now, you can't have a construction crew without a demolition crew, right? In our bones, that's the job of the osteoclasts. Their role is to clear out old, tired bone tissue to make space. This is a totally normal and really important part of the process. You have to get rid of the old to make way for the new.
And this slide right here really shows you the whole picture. For your bones to stay strong and healthy, the work of these two teams has to be in perfect balance. The construction crew, the builders, they need to be building new bone at roughly the same rate that the demolition crew is clearing out the old stuff. The whole problem starts when something comes along and completely tips the scales in one direction.
And that's exactly what excess insulin does. It wages this three-pronged attack against your bones. First, it suppresses the builders. It basically tells your construction crew to take a break. Second, it turbocharges the demolishers, putting them into overdrive. And if that wasn't bad enough, it also promotes body-wide inflammation, which makes it even harder for new bone to form. The end result is simple. You're losing more bone than you're building, and over time, that leads to a weaker and weaker skeleton.
Okay, that was the problem. And it sounds pretty grim. But here is the really good news. This is not your destiny. We have a massive amount of control over this process. So, enough about the problem. Let's talk about the solution. This is your defense plan, the actual steps you can take starting today to protect and strengthen your bones for life.
So your defense plan, it always starts with what's on your plate. We need to give our construction crew the right building materials. That means focusing on 3 key nutrients: protein, calcium, and vitamin D. Think of it this way. Protein is like the steel beams of the building. Calcium is the concrete that makes it strong. And vitamin D, that's like the foreman on the construction site who makes sure all the calcium actually gets used properly. You can find this power trio in foods like dairy, fish, eggs, beans, and of course, leafy greens. And here's the best part. A diet full of these whole foods naturally helps keep your blood sugar stable, which directly fights back against that whole insulin problem.
All right, the second pillar of your defense is movement. See, your bones have a very powerful rule. Use it or lose it. They're living tissues and they actually grow stronger when you put them under a bit of stress. So when you do exercises that bear weight, like walking, lifting some weights, or even just jumping around, you send a signal directly to your bone building crew telling them, hey, we need to be stronger. And look, this is not about training for a marathon. A brisk walk, some simple exercises at home, maybe 2 or 3 times a week, that's a huge deposit into your bone bank.
So we've covered what to add to your life. But what's the single most important thing to take out? If you want to make the biggest possible impact on your insulin levels to protect your bones, this is it right here. You have to cut down on the sugary drinks and the constant snacking. Think about it. Every single time you have a soda or grab another handful of processed snacks, you're forcing your body to spike your insulin. Just by cutting back on these 2 things, you give your body a much-needed break and take a ton of hormonal pressure off your skeleton.
Now, I want to talk about a really powerful strategy that hits the problem right at its source, that chronic oversupply of insulin. Now, this might sound a little weird at first, but the science is incredibly solid. We're going to look at something called the fasting advantage. It's a way to help reset your body's hormones and create the absolute perfect environment for your bones to thrive.
It seems like a total contradiction, doesn't it? We just spent all this time talking about getting the right nutrients in your body to build bone. So how in the world could not eating, fasting, actually make them stronger? Well, the magic isn't about what you're eating, it's about what's happening inside your body during the time you aren't eating. It's about giving your entire system a break.
See, intermittent fasting helps your bones in 4 really critical ways. First, the most obvious one. It gives your insulin-producing system a rest, breaking that cycle of chronic oversupply. Second, and this is cool, it can actually help your gut become healthier, which means you absorb more of that valuable calcium from the food you do eat. Third, it's one of the most powerful ways to lower that chronic inflammation we talked about. And finally, fasting has been shown to increase human growth hormone, which is essential for building and maintaining strong tissues, including your bones. It's like giving your construction crew a major boost of motivation.
I think this quote is just the perfect way to wrap all of this up. Your bones are truly like a bank account. Your teens and 20s, those are your peak earning years. Every healthy meal you eat, every time you go for a walk or play a sport, those are deposits into your bone bank. And the balance you build up during these years is what you're going to have to live on for the rest of your life. Because later on, you can't really make big deposits anymore. You can only try to slow down the withdrawals.
So that really just leaves us with one final question for you to think about. When you look at your own habits, what you eat, what you drink, how much you move, what are you going to choose to deposit into your bone bank today? Each choice might seem small, but believe me, over time, they add up. And they are exactly what will decide how strong your foundation is for all the years to come. Thanks for watching.